Hi all and welcome back to the channel. Today is another episode of Underrated Games. In this series, I cover games that, for a variety of reasons, should have gotten more attention than they did. This is the 9th episode, and you will find the playlist in the description. Today, I'm covering Space Marine, the 2011 third-person hack and shooter developed by Relic Entertainment and published by Sega. With Space Marine 2 coming up in September of this year, it's high time to take a look back. I'll first give a quick explanation of what the game is, then I'll discuss why I think the game is good and why you should still play it, and at the end, I will discuss why I think it flopped. The multiplayer of the game is still available, but unless you actively look for people on forums and discords, it's hard to find any games. That's why I focus on the single player, which is a linear, story-driven action game. It's very straightforward. You do a lot of killing, which slowly gets harder and more chaotic, while you also get more tools added to your arsenal. The game is very fun to play. It's not a traditional third-person shooter, nor is it a hack-and-slash game. It's an interesting blend that we don't see much, and it works very well. The combat still feels very impactful, which is awesome. The brutality of the game, even after 13 years, still comes across quite well. Also, and I'm curious to know if you already knew this, Space Marine actually introduced the glory kill mechanic that most people attribute to Doom. This means that you need to kill in a certain way to regain your health. This forces you to continue fighting and keep pushing forward, otherwise you will slowly die. It keeps the combat at a very high pace. The story is interesting enough to keep you going, but I mostly play this game for the gameplay. Another thing that I think is very cool is the attention to detail. For example, the screen shakes a little when you run. This is done because you are a giant space marine, and the screen shake effect really makes that feeling come across well. Overall, simply put, the reason to play this game for this episode is not very complicated. It's just a very fun action game. Not too complicated, but if you put it on hard, complicated enough to feel challenging. The combat is different enough to feel fresh and interesting, even many years later. The game does look dated, but it looks good enough. I was actually surprised how nice the characters still looked in 4K. One advantage of it being old is that it runs great on Steam Deck. If the game is so much fun, then why did it flop? I think it's because the focus was more on the multiplayer. The single-player campaign takes only 7.5 hours to beat, making it a relatively short game, and it did launch at full price. From what I read and remember, the multiplayer wasn't bad at all, but in that same year, Gears of War 3, Battlefield 3, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 were released. That was just too much competition. Luckily, the game did garner some fans, and now we are finally getting Space Marine 2, which looks very exciting. However, if you haven't played this one, you should definitely pick it up on sale. It's very fun and a nice preparation for the second one that releases in September. That was it for this episode of Underrated Games. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you like this, please consider checking out the other episodes. Regardless, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.